A thread by Carlos Osuita. Let's talk about how the Democrats are working overtime to re-elect President Donald Trump. While it's true that the Democrats have decided to use Black Lives Matter and Antifa as their Sturmabteilung, SA, or brown shirts, the way Hitler did, this is politically suicidal. By 1933, the year that Hitler was appointed chancellor by President Paul von Hindenburg, the SA, again, the brown shirts, numbered 2 million. Most people don't know that the German president had already created a military dictatorship by 1916. Hindenburg became chief of the general staff in 1916, and he and his deputy, Erich Ludendorff, were actually more concerned with stomping down the German public than fighting the war. They look fun, don't they? The historical context of the Nazis is that they outnumbered everyone. And the Germans were already used to living under absolutist leaders. Germany had just been humiliated by the Treaty of Versailles, so Germans had a grudge. It was a homogeneous population. Almost all Germans were white Christians. The only thing the rise of the Nazis and the attempted rise of the Democrats have in common is tactics and artwork. Here is the SA logo. Never in a million years would you think Nazi the first time you saw it. The final aspect is German law enforcement had real weapons of war. Flamethrowers, grenades, and armored cars with 6 heavy machine guns each. But the cops supported the Nazis. They were simply switching one dictatorship for another. So, they didn't do anything to stop the SA, the Sturmabteilung, the brown shirts. American cops are trying to stop the riots, but they aren't equipped and they're crippled by rules of engagement. So here's a riot video. Check it out. Thread link in the description. Now, I wrote a thread about Tim Pool. While the thread was a forceful rebuttal of Tim's claim that Trump was unprepared for the presidency and is unorganized, it had to be done. As I tell Adam Krigler, I like Tim. I want him to be a huge star and a billionaire. But he has such a huge platform that I must rebut false information Tim spreads about Trump. People tell me that Tim's approach is more appealing to fence sitters like himself. Sure. But I'm a Trump cheerleader. It's my job to respond with facts. The press coverage of Trump is so dishonest that I don't cut anyone slack. If the atmosphere were different, I would punch back 10 times as hard. But there comes a time at which you must fight back in a way that's brutal and effective. You have to take no prisoners. I'm doing this for people whose lives will be destroyed if Trump is not reelected. Look around you. Are you aware that the Turks regularly had coups? The armed forces safeguarded secularism. Erdogan simply replaced all the military leaders with Islamists, and now Turkey supports expansionist, Islamist absolutism. But Erdogan's lackeys have zero military skills. The Turkish armed forces are now utter crap. I'll give you an example. A main battle tank is supposed to be used as a mobile assault platform. Turkey bought the ultra-modern German Leopard 2 and used it as a stationary artillery piece in Syria. Here's the result. For those of you just listening, it is a whole bunch of tanks that have been smashed and blown to bits. The Turks won't even admit to how many Leopard 2s they lost, but it's in the double digits. How do you protect tanks? With air power and infantry. The Germans were doing this in World War I, for God's sake. They created the first aircraft with a side-firing weapon, the Albatros J-1, an armored close-air support platform that had a 20-millimeter cannon to knock out enemy tanks and take out anti-tank artillery. The aircraft flew in a pylon turn above the target while the rear gunner fired armor-piercing and high-explosive cannon rounds at it. Today, Americans use MQ-9 Reaper drones, missiles, and guided bombs. On the digitalized battlefield, everyone can see everything. So the enemy is smashed. The Democrats are as fanatical as Islamists. It blinds them. The Democratic SA, Sturmabteilung, brown shirts, are destroying only Democratic cities. All they're doing is creating more Trump voters among Democrats. The press claims that the riots are Trump's fault. Nobody buys it. Nobody buys the idea that the mere presence of federal agents is so egregious that people have no choice but to burn down the city. And now, to bring about stability, we must abolish law enforcement. In other words, we must pay the Danegeld. A poem by Rudyard Kipling, published in 1911. It is always a temptation to an armed and agile nation to call upon a neighbor and to say, "We invaded you last night. We are quite prepared to fight unless you pay us cash to go away." And that is called asking for the Danegeld. And the people who ask it explain that you've only to pay them the Danegeld and then you'll get rid of the Dane. It is always a temptation for a rich and lazy nation to puff and look important and to say, "Though we know we should defeat you, we have not the time to meet you. We will therefore pay you cash to go away." And that is called paying the Danegeld. But we've proved it again and again, that if once you have paid him the Danegeld, you'll never get rid of the Dane. It is wrong to put temptation in the path of any nation for fear they should succumb and go astray. So when you are requested to pay up or be molested, you will find it a better policy to say, "We never pay anyone Danegeld, no matter how trifling the cost. For the end of that game is oppression and shame, and the nation that pays it is lost." Rudyard Kipling published that in 1911. Remember, leftists are cognitively rigid. They don't even know that they're destroying themselves. The final factor is the messengers. They are disgusting. Who decided that we all love shrill harpies? These horrible women by themselves are peeling away the Democrats' support. Link in the description to a President Trump press conference from August 8th. Nobody likes harpies, not even other harpies. All I could do as I watched this was laugh. This is easily one of the most off-putting presentations I've ever seen. Another YouTube video. This one's Tomi Lahren talking about how men suck. And she just manages, without even realizing it, just to make herself completely repulsive in every imaginable way. Carlos continues. This is like man repellent, bear spray for men. People generally seek out people like themselves. If all of Tommy's friends are like her, mystery solved. I can't imagine having dinner with her. I'd love to have dinner with Tim Pool. We'd talk about everything except politics. Speaking of harpies, from foxnews.com, Biden taps Kamala Harris as running mate, setting aside tensions from primary. My mind is officially boggled. In their debate, Vice President Pence is going to serenely squish her into the carpeted floor of the studio. She's going to be a pile of protoplasm, nothing more. Harris was the worst possible choice for Biden. So, of course, he made it. Thank the Judas goats. Guess what Harris did? She zealously prosecuted Black Americans and exempted illegal Hispanics from the law. In this Afrocentric moment of time, he chose the one person guaranteed to alienate Black voters. The Biden campaign. Let's watch. Big model rocket crash. All right, let's see if I can roll past this. There it is. There's the Biden campaign. There's really cool music playing in the background. And here's your model rocket, the Biden campaign. All right, there's your Biden campaign. And now, that's what I get for clicking on the video. It takes me all the way to the bottom. And the Trump campaign. There's your 747 SP low flyover aerobatic HD. Anyway, thanks for listening.